You already
I'm
have a fan. You have
I
a
know,
fan for your
my
virtual
virtual background.
background.
So I'm Kevin Dennis. I'm your international president. I Today's supposed to be opening day for baseball. So my staff and I, we get together on Zoom, and today was baseball themed accordingly. So I thought I'm going to stick with it and work all the way through. So go Texas Rangers. I am from California, but I am like the biggest diehard Texas Ranger fan you will ever find. So happy opening day to everyone. Kind of, not really. So we're gonna, and like I said, as we get going, please push your Q&A or questions to the Q&A, and then I will do my best to monitor the chat. But it's, you guys get going crazy in the chat, and it's hard to keep track of all your fun conversations that are going on in there as well. So, so if you can be pushing questions to the chat. I'm going to let Christy do a quick little introduction and why she can be talking to us, and what are all her credentials. Tell us about the FEMA one.
Where do you get off? Why are you here?
Yes, and while you're doing that, I'm going to try to get this going Facebook Live. So
Awesome. So my name is Christy Osborne. I'm the owner of Mountainside Media, and normally I do things like data and analytics and Google Analytics and Facebook ads and PPC ads and all sorts of geekery. But in a previous life, I was in the travel industry. And in particular, I was in California. I was the director of digital for Mammoth Lakes Tourism, where I live here in Mammoth Lakes, California. And I had the distinct honor and privilege to market a ski area during the worst of California droughts when we didn't really have snow. And then to just throw some more fun around, I had to manage a lot of the California wildfires, not necessarily threats of flame, but smoke that caused really bad health problems. And I think everybody remembers seeing like San Francisco kind of shut down because of the smoke from the Paradise Fire. And I was just right in the middle of that. And so I had to deal with a lot of, I'm supposed to market this town. And as this is going on, I just have the worst trolls on all of my social media channels just saying, you're a liar, like the ski area sucks. I broke my leg because I came up because of your Facebook post. And then in the summer,
my
it's
goodness.
like, you want to kill people? People can't breathe. You're going to kill my grandmother with asthma, you dumb marketer. And my boss was like, listen, FEMA came to town to offer social media emergency management courses and certification. And this was basically like targeted toward government entities. Like if you're, the Chamber of Commerce or the Rec Commission or the Planning Commission and something happens, like how do you respond on social media when there's a natural disaster? And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. So I took a 3-day certification course and a test and got certified by FEMA for basically crisis communication.
That's amazing.
It was something.
But all that stuff leading up to that you had to deal with to get to that point is like, I can't believe, but I can believe now that you say that, what people were putting out there.
I feel like I'm the troll whisperer. I just emailed the client this morning with a recommended response because somebody's trolling one of the accounts with an article from the newspaper, and they feel like we're doing the wrong thing, and they're just posting this article from the newspaper on every single post that we've ever done. And so yeah, that's a lot of people don't realize it, but that is my day-to-day.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So folks, we're going to ask you to start pushing in questions over to the side if you have any. A question I kind of have right now is, what kind of tone should people be taking with their social media? Because I've seen people taking like they're flat out ignoring the situation that we're going through, and it's still, everything's beautiful and amazing. And then I see people that are still posting work, which I think probably is still a good thing to do. But then I have people that are like, the end of the world is here and it's doom and gloom. So which way do you, or what, I don't know how to answer that. That's why we have you.
That's a really great question. It really does depend on your brand. So I
Okay.
have a client in New York City that's really edgy and dark and sarcastic, and that is their brand. It's been their brand from the get-go. It was their brand before COVID-19. It's going to be their brand after COVID-19. And so what they're doing is they're just looking for like the funniest COVID-19 memes ever. And, they're sharing that on stories and, sharing things from TikTok and stuff like that, because that was the brand before. If your brand is really optimistic and positive, you want to stay optimistic and positive. My brand is a little bit geeky and nerdy, and so I post a lot of data and studies and things that have to do with numbers. So you want to continue on with whatever your brand platform or your brand adjectives were before coronavirus. Use that as a framework to figure out how to post during coronavirus. Now, with that said, you definitely should have last week, at the very least, audited all of your scheduled posts and pulled down anything that's a little bit tone deaf. In a crisis like this, because things can change day by day and week by week, I tend to unschedule everything. And it doesn't mean I don't use any of the content that I've scheduled in the past, but it does mean that I'm scheduling out on a day-to-day basis. And I'm just making sure that whatever I'm posting doesn't make me sound like a dum-dum.
Mm-hmm. Or not sensitive to the situation, I
Or
guess,
not
is the big,
sensitive.
because I've seen a lot of posts and I'm like, do they even know what's going on? Or are they,
And the way
some of
you
them are
post,
local here in California, so I know they're locked down, and I know that they're,
right.
yeah. So.
And the way you post on your personal channels might be different than the way that your brand is posting. Remember that your brand is a lot bigger than you, and it's very likely a lot more inclusive than just who you call friends, right? So, you might be doing funny, silly things from your, room that you're quarantined in on your personal feeds. But just make sure that when you're representing a brand, that it's a little bit more inclusive, and it's going to be a little bit more conservative. Even my edgy person in New York, the brand is funny and silly, but those guys are just wild when they're DMing each other back and forth. And it doesn't often have a place on the brand. The other thing you want to consider is, if you're one of those brands that's a little bit more edgy and you do want to share edgier content, funny content, sarcastic content, even political content on your brand's feed, you're going to have to just prepare for people not liking what you have to say and people having an opinion about it, and be able to really sit down before you start being silly with COVID-19 and think about some of the ways you're going to respond when people criticize you. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to get into a big mud-flinging argument with potential fans and followers and even potential clients on social media. It just makes you look like a jerk. So, if somebody criticizes you and you come back and say, hey, I get it, this is not for everybody. This is, let me just think about this for a minute. Just put my troll hat on. We get it. This is not for everybody. Our brand prides ourselves on being edgy and a little less conservative. We've had that philosophy ever since our inception, and we see no reason to stop now. If this isn't your cup of tea, we invite you to unfollow us.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's fair, but you have to have it like ready to go, like have some sort of document where you have some canned responses, so that when you're dealing with criticism, you're doing it in a professional way that says, listen, this is our brand. The Wendy's brand is similar. They made a brand out of having this teenage, angsty teenage girl persona roast the competition, and when people reply to them, they'll get roasted as well. And Wendy's is unapologetic about it. They're like, listen, this is just part of my brand. But they do it in the way that's consistent. They don't put on their brand hat and think they're going to be funny about roasting their competition or silly COVID-19 memes, and then, lose their composure and start acting like a, freaked out individual when somebody criticizes them. So just be ready for the criticism if that's part of your brand.
Yeah, and I think that's probably every day. People get upset about a bad Yelp review or, a bad review in general. I mean, you got to learn to be able, and I think this time is going to bring out more criticisms than any time before. So, yeah. All right. So, question: should venues? So, this is from a venue person. Should venues hold off on posting wedding images because of the delicate climate as it promotes large gathering and celebrations?
Yeah, that's a really good one. So, not necessarily. There are still couples that are super excited about planning a wedding. You do want to be mindful about the current contexts within which we find ourselves. So, for some of the people have asked me this question before, and for venues and planners and things like that, what I'm recommending is, for now, avoid a lot of content that violates social distancing norms. You don't want to put a rubber stamp, even though the event happened a little while ago, you don't necessarily want to put a rubber stamp on, these big crowded ceremony shots and things like that. But instead, what you can do, and this gives you a real good opportunity for brand storytelling as well, which always sets you apart, because I've been known to say that all of our stuff looks the same on the internet, right? Like,
Hmm.
I ran Mountainside Bride for years. All my stuff looked the same too. It's just the way it is. Where you can differentiate those in your storytelling. So, you can show reception setups and tablescapes and place settings. You can show, bouquets. You can show details, dress details. You can, show a couple in love, holding hands, smiling. We're allowed to be around our spouses still. And what you want to do is really tell the story and create space for our current condition with your caption. So if you wanted to mention the coronavirus, you can mention something like, just being cooped up with my husband on quarantine and lockdown it reminds me of the power of love, especially during hard times. I'm reminded by, Jesse and Jamie's wedding. They were so in love. This is what the couple was like. Here's the experience I had working with them. So what you can do is you can kind of wrap the current context around what you would normally post, but you just give a light nod saying, like, listen, I know it's not business as usual, and a lot of us are having to adjust to a new normal, and that reminds me of spreading the joy of hope and love, through my industry and through honoring my past couples, and that's how I would handle it a little bit more gently.
Yeah, that's good advice. All right. So, same person should, for instance, in a resort, in her case, be subject to any precautions versus instance like a wedding planner promoting their work or services. And you kind of answered that already, I feel like.
Say that
So,
again, though.
so should, for instance, a resort in her case be subject to any precautions versus, for instance, a wedding planner promoting their work or services during this time?
Well, for something like a resort, if you're closed down, you have to put up a notice saying that you're closed down, because people are going to
Hmm.
ask. And then also, what I do, listen, I do this as a matter of course. So if you ever work with me and I'm managing your channels, the first thing we do is we set up an FAQ document, primarily because I don't know your business, and that document helps me do customer service online. But it's even more important in a crisis in terms of when you're open, when you're closed, if you're doing private tours, if you're not doing private tours. All of that should be in an FAQ document, and you should have a lawyer look at that so that you're not saying anything that could get you into some legal hot water. Then you pin it onto your feeds, and create a little COVID-19 highlight for your Instagram stories, and all the information goes there. And then when people ask you the same question over and over again, which they will, because they didn't read your pinned post or anything like that, you can just use the same language. You want to be very consistent with your policies and the language you use around your policies. And so a FAQ document can help you do that. But if you are a venue that's closed, and you have other policies such as private tours, then you want to put those online for sure.
Perfect. All
It
right.
looks
So,
like we're
Sasha,
getting some Q and
I
A's
know
in
we got
here
some
too.
here. So Sasha says, how do you maintain a supportive message but keep it light and positive to drive sales and future contacts? She says, what we are facing is we understand that people aren't going to place large catering orders right now, but how do we reach new contacts to target when the economy is on the rebound?
That is such a great question, Sasha, and thank you for asking. I actually have a client in the catering industry, so I'm kind of eyeballs deep in everything that's happening with like the ICA and Cater Source and like all of that, and NACE and things like that. So I've been following along. Here's what I would do, okay? I would create a really amazing web page on your website. It can be a blog post or it can be a main article. And you create such value with answering all their questions about COVID, answering all their questions about your services, answering all of their questions about what it's like to work with your staff. And I would take a little bit of money, $1 a day, and I would run social media ads driving traffic to your site from that post. And then they go to the post, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, I love it. And you're building trust and goodwill without selling right now, because you have nothing to sell. We don't know when this is going to be, there's so many unknowns. Some people are booking for 2021, and I'll go into that in a minute, how to handle that. But basically drive traffic to your web page, make sure you have the Facebook pixel installed. Then in 2 months or 4 weeks or 3 months, when we know what's going on and we're able to open and run business as usual as an industry, then you can start retargeting to all of those people that visited your webpage, because there's a 180-day pixel window. So it's 6 months. So what I would do is I just try to drive traffic to your website right now. And then when we start seeing signs of recovery, then you can come back with that more down funnel marketing message about your rates and your availability and the sales stuff. So that's what I would do with that. And then right now, if you do feel comfortable taking bookings for 2021, again, get that pixel installed on your website, because anybody who visits your services or your about page or your inquiry page, you can retarget to them if they visited your website. And you can also create lookalike audiences based on that web traffic. So you know that they're interested in possibly booking you because they visited key pages that show intent to book on your website. Then you remarket to them out on social media ads. So that's how I'm mostly sneaky about things.
So two questions real quick to kind of follow up from that. Someone asked what is a pixel, and then will $1 a day really do something?
Yeah, $1 a day is not going to get you bookings real quick. What you're doing is there's the two cheapest types of ads to run are reach and traffic. So if you don't have a big audience or an engaged audience, you might want to go with reach first. If you have a decent audience that can stay engaged, try traffic. It's just a way for people to hit your website and be able to remarket to them. So don't expect that $1 a day is going to get you sales. What you're doing essentially is you're building audience. And when you're on the back end of Facebook, you can create all these custom audiences, including from web traffic and lookalike and things like that. So keep in mind that if you're spending $1 a day, the goal is not bookings, the goal is traffic. You're going to sell to them later. And then a Facebook pixel is a little piece of code that you get from your ads manager, and you put it on your website, and it tracks people when they hit your website, and then they go back out onto social media. And Kevin, I have some YouTube videos that I use with clients, because I'm tired of explaining myself over and over and over again with clients, that I'll send WIPA, and you can do with those what you will.
Yeah. No, we'll take those. That sounds good. So Anonymous says, if your company is still functioning on a full-time basis and now deemed essential, how do you share that you are still open and operating without being insensitive to the vendors in your area that are fully shut, have their doors shut?
That's a really kind question to ask.
It really is. I thought so too.
Yeah, it's a really kind. Personally, I wouldn't worry about it. Like, if you're open, you're open. Just let people know you're open. I do think, though, if you are concerned about certain people, you can just reach out to them and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm thinking about you and you've been on my mind. I'm just wondering how I can help. Is there anything I can do to help? And just offer, a heart of service. Reach out to them individually, and that should generate enough goodwill. But listen, dare I get like, rah, 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 but I'm like, boy, you are in business. And I think that there's a difference between, there's I'm not a colleague. I actually am a fan of hers. So there's this woman, a high-end wedding planner who also does consulting, Terica Skaggs, who basically said, don't market to me. I'm full to my eyeballs with handling clients and helping them more. And, now is not the time for your 12-point download and give me your email address. And, hey, did you get my marketing e-course and stuff like that? And I totally get that. But you're not marketing to your vendors. What you're trying to do is make sure that you're staying in business so that you can continue to serve your vendor community and your clients in the long run. So I think that if you're just factual, about it and say, we are an essential business and here's how we're serving the community. Look, if you're in an essential business, you're feeding somebody, you're caring for somebody in some way. You're holding the financial fabric of our nation together. You're in banking or accounting. Say that you're still open and have a statement about how you're serving your community. And I think that should suffice. And if you get hate, ignore it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So Kristen had a venue question. So any advice regarding backlash from clients around rebooking timelines? Should we publish those on our social media or keep it private?
That is up to you entirely. As a social media channel manager, I like to publish everything of my clients on social media, but here's how you have to handle it, or how I would recommend that you handle it. First and foremost, understand what your policy is. Have that blessed by a lawyer. Make sure you're not getting your business into any hot water with your policy, and that it's legally sound. Once you have your policy in place, sit down and think about, why is your policy a win-win situation? How does it serve your clients? And also, how is it fair to your business? And I think that it's completely reasonable. Most people will find it reasonable to understand that you are there to care for your clients and you're there to stay in business. So how is it a win-win for both your business and your clients? Then I would craft some language around your policy that starts with, I understand and empathize with all of my clients. Like, this is a hard time. It's time of mourning. My heart goes out to all of them. I've been doing my best to serve all of them. Then you go into your policy. I'm getting a lot of questions about our, rebooking policy in the timeline. Here is our policy. And then you finish with, here's why it's fair. Here's why it's fair to the business and fair to the client. And then once you have that little sandwich, send it back to your lawyer and make sure that you're not getting yourself into any trouble. And then that goes into your FAQ document. You can post it on a web page, you can post it on your social media channels, but people are going to ask you over and over and over again, no matter where you post it. So then you can reply directly with comments with that. You want to stay consistent though. Listen, I know that it seems inauthentic to copy and paste, but when you're in the middle of a crisis, that's just what you do. That's best practices, especially when you're talking about anybody's safety or any kind of legal considerations.
Fair. All right. So another anonymous, how do I use this time to grow my following in a genuine and engaged way?
Yeah, I think that that's a great question. Two things that I would do. I would run reach ads for $1 a day.
You like the dollar. I like the dollar.
Listen, who's got money right now, right?
No, yeah.
So $1 a day. And I would test a lot of things. I would go back to, this is just block and tackle marketing. Go back to your brand platform. what you stand for, and figure out 3 to 6 core content pillars. This is what marketers use to just stay consistent and tell a brand story. So maybe I'm just going to make some things up, but maybe you're a wedding planner and you're known for being relaxed and laid back, but with a high attention to detail, and you're known for your gift giving with your clients, right? So there's 3 things. So you want to start rotating through posts that tell the story about your attention to detail, how you're funny and laid back, and your gift giving to clients. And what you can start to do is just create a spreadsheet, a little grid, and you just track by category what's getting the most engagement and what's getting the most action, and do more of what works and do less of what doesn't work. And that's it. You have a wonderful time right now to just play around with content in a pretty low risk environment, because none of us are doing anything right now anyway.
Sure. All right, so Leo had a question. He says, we're asking our past brides and grooms to share their favorite moments from their own big day with us to count down the quarantine. He says, we are sharing the greatest assortment of pictures from the room shots to people on the dance floor. We mention on each posting that we are counting down and give brides credit for sharing. Your thoughts?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's kind, it involves the community, it makes it about your clients and not about you. I mean, just brilliant. Kudos.
Good job.
Praise hands.
Good job.
Good job.
All right, so not sure if you can answer this, but as it's a little off topic, but where are we supposed to, but how are we supposed to best work on Instagram algorithm at this moment in time? And what is prioritizing the moment?
Yeah. Instagram still prioritizes engagement. Instagram loves it when you use stories. And Instagram also knows, oftentimes it can tell, just from a general audience perspective, who's engaged and who might be a fake account. And every now and again, they clear out the fake accounts and everybody freaks out, but it's actually a good thing. The biggest thing that I've had success with bringing channels online from scratch, I've brought 4 Instagram channels online from zero. Like I had to make the account for clients.
Oh, wow.
4 from zero since 2016. So it's not easy to do nowadays, but what really makes all the difference in the world is liking and commenting on other people's posts and following hashtags. So when you follow hashtags, when you click on that hashtag and you see the grid and you can look at the most recent stuff, you can collaborate with vendors this way because a lot of vendors are on Instagram, but you can also find real engaged couples that are participating in these hashtags and just start giving some comment love and engaging with them. And I have a way of ramping up engagement from, engaging with them on the feed. Anna Coates, if you're not watching Marry Me Tampa Bay, has a really great way of engaging with people on stories. She uses a lot of polls, a lot of sliders. She asks a lot of questions. And then when people DM her, she's in a private conversation with her. But if you're on the main feed, you can ramp that up a little bit naturally with DMs after you've been chit-chatting with somebody for a while and engaging. And that's how I've been using Instagram pretty successfully for clients.
Cool. All right. So Janice had a question: define decent audience and active audience. I don't know what that is.
Oh, the unengaged audience, they're just people who aren't engaged. So I use a lot of different, because what I offer my clients is not just services, but I report on everything. So we know what's working and what's not working. And so I use a whole bunch of different report platforms that will tell me things like, how many bots do we think are in my audience, and how many fake accounts are there, and how many unengaged members are there, and how many engaged members are there, and things like that. So your engaged audience is just audience members who are interacting with your content.
Gotcha. All right. So as a wedding set designer, there are many cancellations and reschedulings it is more of a visual business. How can I be creative to invite more clients right now?
As a wedding designer, there are many cancellations and rescheduling. Yes,
Yeah,
all of us. And I'm
yeah.
so sorry. That's
That's
hard.
what we're listening.
That's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more of a visual business. Yeah. How can I
Hmm.
be creative to invite more clients? So, I mean, it is a visual business. Hopefully you have past um, designs that you've done for events. You have sets, you have, whatever sets that you've designed, you have those pictures, and you just show them and tell the story of the client experience in the caption. Again, I always use like these little shortcuts and templates in my head when I'm writing captions, but if it's appropriate to acknowledge the current situation with coronavirus, go ahead and do so.
Hmm.
You don't have to do it every single post, but if it's appropriate, go ahead and do so. And then one little mini template that I use for social media is the mini case study. So you say, this couple came to me with this desire or this problem, right? So this couple came to me with this vision. And here are the problems and challenges that we faced implementing that vision for design, right? And you always have problems and challenges. Doesn't mean that you're not a professional. It means that you're human. So identifying it doesn't have to be your challenge. It could be their challenge. Like they wanted this and they were challenged by that. So we worked together to make all their dreams come true. This was the result. And you can show any kind of picture and tell that client case study story. It helps keep your feed really nice and visual, but it also distinguishes you from the pack because you're actually talking about your clients and how you've served them.
Yeah, and that's good. And usually their roadblock is the budget. They find this beautiful photo on Pinterest and then they can't afford the beautiful photo on Pinterest. So that's my experience at least. And then so we have a few clients or a few client events that have postponed and have reached out to me to express their gratitude for having me on their team. Is it tone deaf to create posts with a direct quote of these expressions?
No, I would just ask if you can share it and just get their permission. They'll probably say yes, and you can turn that into a blog post. Alan Berg does this particularly well with testimonials. He doesn't just put testimonials on a testimonial page. He like embeds them throughout the site. So you could write a COVID-19 response page for your website and talk about your policies, talk about your commitment to postponing and what your availability is, and in between all of that information, you put those testimonials and those kind words, but just ask for permission.
Good question. All right, so Janice is not on Facebook, so she cannot advertise on Facebook or Instagram. Does Christy have any experience with Spotify ads?
I don't. I have some experience with Pandora ads back in the day. Pandora was very expensive, and I used Pandora to advertise the Mammoth Lakes, right? It was in travel and tourism. I would say that it has been my experience. It's really difficult to convert from radio or from the phone and somebody just listening to something like Pandora or Spotify, which is basically a radio. It's been hard for me to convert them. It seemed to be more in the world of brand awareness, and for most small vendors, they don't have budget to be thrown around on, $60,000 Pandora buys.
It's a big difference from $1.
Yeah, it's different from $1. If you're not on social media, which I think you might want to rethink and maybe do a little bit of research right now while our jets have been cooled by COVID-19. But if you do want to start advertising now and you're trying to get some down funnel action, I actually recommend good old fashioned Google AdWords, PPC ads. Most people who are searching on Google AdWords are searching for like officiant in Bangor, Maine, or wedding DJ in Atlanta, Georgia, or whatever it is. And you know that if they're searching for those particular keywords, they're probably looking to book somebody at some point. The other thing is in the wedding industry in general, it's not like the travel industry. So it's like the Knot and Wedding Wire will advertise. And then maybe your biggest local hotel will advertise, and then nobody else is advertising. So PPC ads in the wedding industry right now can still be relatively inexpensive. So I'd start messing around with those. You can also use it again if for all of those who are in social media, and this is sort of my specialty, using PPC ads to drive traffic to a website. And then I'll remarket to them on social media. So that's another tactic, because people don't realize it's not like sign up for an email, I'm going to market to you on email. Like people don't even realize that you are capturing them as audience to retarget. And so it feels a little bit more authentic to them sometimes, especially if your messaging is really good.
Cool. So Mallory has a WIPA question for you. So what is a good way to showcase the benefits of WIPA and why people should join, while being sensitive to the fact that it is not in many people's budget right now?
I have to tip my hat to WIPA. I'm a WIPA member. I've been a member for just 2 years now, but I've been watching all the associations and how you've all been handling the crisis, and WIPA is doing a really fantastic job offering a lot of value to its members. The only thing that I would change in terms of that building audience is these webinars. I've been asked, as I've shared these webinars, if they're open to non-members. And right now they're not, because they are. Yes.
They are.
So what I would do is I would open that up, put it on your web page, right? And anytime somebody, I actually just wrote an email for a client today and included your letter to Congress template
thank you.
Their audience, which is, it's not huge, it's like 2,000 people, but you're providing so much value right now that I'm watching you and I'm like, oh, we need to share this with other clients' audience and stuff like that. What you want to do though later is all of those times that people have gone to your website to watch a replay, they've gone to or if it's on Facebook Live, if they've interacted with that video, you can create a custom audience around that. When everybody starts healing, then you go out with a retargeting message. You know that they consumed your content. If they watched a Facebook Live video and they're still hanging in there after 40 minutes, you know that they got value out of it. So then you go in with some low-cost ads. When you're retargeting, you can get away with spending around $300 a month and be very, very, very effective. And just start to, pull them in, get them on your email list, nurture them through a sequence, ask for the sale. But right now you're doing all the right things with WIPA in terms of providing such high value content for the industry. Just make sure that when you're ready to ask for people to join, you're purposefully retargeting to those audiences that interacted with your brand.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows, we had an emergency board meeting last week. And so what we're doing is we're letting members first, because we have almost 1,400 members now. And we have WIPA can't afford the bigger platform for Zoom, so we can have 500 seats. So we let our members sign up first, and then 24 hours before the webinar, we open it up to everyone. So that's something we did. So I think it'll be a good thing. So
let me know when you want to retarget.
Yeah.
I'm a member, so I can help.
I know, we appreciate it. All right. So how would you recommend asking for clients to leave reviews during this time?
Yeah, same way you always do.
Don't change anything?
I mean, if you wanted to talk about how reviews are an easy way to help support a small business, you can do that. But I'm assuming that you're not just asking for reviews because we're dealing with a pandemic. You're asking for reviews because you've done a great job. The clients were really excited and they would likely want to leave a review anyway. So there's not too much that you have to change about that. Just make sure that your correspondence is kind and full of empathy and personable and personal.
Yeah, and I find like empathy and being kind right now is huge. I mean, it just in just my, I'm not a big Facebook person or Instagram person. I have people that do that for me most of the time. I basically post my socks and then my legs on Southwest Airlines. That's about all I know how to do, and the kids every once in a while. But I find when I have more time than I ever had on my hands, so I've been looking at Facebook more than I normally do, or Instagram, and I find that the people are being kind. Are getting more engagement right now. I think it is going a long way. So, all right, another question. How can we tactfully find and solicit business from those that are postponing in a kind way? Perhaps their current venue cannot accommodate them, or perhaps they would like to consider other venues if going through an unpleasant cancellation or postponement. That's a tough question.
Yeah, so they're wondering how they can reach out vendor to vendor to ask about cancellations without looking opportunistic.
I think so.
Yeah, that's tricky. I would say sometimes in marketing and communication, it's best to play a long game. And the easiest way to play a long game is just by starting with, how can I help? So don't necessarily make an assumption that they're going to want to give you business, or that they have a problem with postponements and need to give anybody else business. I would just reach out and take their temperature and say, hey, just been thinking about you. How are you doing? I've been doing that with people I've met at conferences, and it comes from a very genuine place. It's not like, hey, we met at Cater Source, and when you recover, do you want to buy some Facebook advertising stuff from me? Just wanted to stay on your radar. It's like legitimately like, how can I help? And here's the thing. If you ask somebody how you can help and they say how they can help, just help them. Just help them. That's the moment we're in right now. Just help the people. But at the very least, you can start a relationship with that person right now, an authentic one. Stay on their radar, be helpful and useful. And then if they do start to get postponements, or they start to talk to you about postponements, you're probably going to be very well endeared to that person.
All right. So
can I answer this dark question that I saw?
I was gonna go. I was just gonna go to that one next, because we kind of answered the question above it already, the review question.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Go dark. So, how to handle social media around going bankrupt or closing? If this situation continues, many venues are gonna go under. Might as well be prepared with messaging.
Yes, that is. So here's the deal with that. The first thing that it's like sitting in the war room, right? The first thing that you're going to do in that situation is not your social media posts. The first thing and I didn't have this with bankruptcy, but there have been a number of my clients that have had to literally, like, I had a venue in Lake Tahoe that had to close down as per governor's order, shut down the entire venue, and vacate the premises in six hours, laying off 100 people. And it was, and I guarantee you, the first thing on their minds was not social media. So the first thing on your mind, if you find yourself down the road, and I hope nobody's facing bankruptcy right now, but if you find yourself down the road facing bankruptcy, you've got to get your lawyer in the war room and figure out what's the policy, how are you doing a restructured thing? Do you have to close? Are you selling? Like, what's going on? What are the facts? How are you going to take care of current clients? How are you going to take care of people in the pipeline and stuff like that? Once you have all of the facts of the situation sorted out, then you start writing your social media posts and your emails to clients and your emails to potential clients and whatnot. And basically, in those types of situations, you just stick to the facts. It's like we in Mammoth Mountain, in Vail Resorts and Aspen Resorts did this recently. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm a big skier. Before we close, I got 30 days of skiing in this winter. So I'm a big skier, and all of the North American ski areas closed. And basically they said, it is with heavy hearts that we have to announce we're closing the ski areas for this reason. And if you have, if you need to rebook or cancel your reservations, contact this email. But that email was set up and those policies were set up long before they started writing. So don't put the cart before the horse. Social media is a vehicle for a message, right? It's not something in and of itself. It's not something separate from the message. It's a vehicle for the message. So if you are facing an internal crisis like bankruptcy or having to close permanently, then you're going to want to get all of your policy ducks in the row before you start to think about messaging around that on social media or through emails.
Good.
What is the best way to get other people to market for you, i.e. shout outs online, leaving reviews, keep them talking about you even though they may not be using you right now? How do you stay relevant and trendy when everyone else is thinking about health and safety?
Yeah, I love that question because Sasha has an eye and an ear toward recovery. That is exactly the easiest way that we're all going to recover and stay top of mind. The easiest way to do that is pick your vendor favorites and form a cadre of 5 or 6 people, and you just start to like and comment and share each other's content. And then once you have that kind of rolling, you can open it up from your inner circle to other vendors that you get along with and you like really well. And you just email them and say, hey, this is what we're doing. We're reviewing each other on the Knot and Wedding Wire, Google My Business, Yelp, Facebook reviews, wherever it is. And we are committing to liking and commenting on at least one person's post every day and just organize it. Organize it on Google Docs, have a Google spreadsheet. People can sign up to like and comment and share other people's stuff. You keep track of it and you take it from there. One of the things that I noticed, I was running the Mountainside Bride blog before I got a job at Mammoth Lakes Tourism. And I took a lot of what I learned being an influencer in the wedding industry and a blogger in the wedding industry and applied it directly to what I was doing at Mammoth Lakes Tourism before we had influencer marketing. And it worked. And the way it worked was I just got my inner circle of people in the community, in the local community. I said, let's do this. And then when people started seeing that we were doing that, instead of saying, yeah, but we're too cool for you, we started inviting people in. We're like, yeah, do you want to join us? Yeah, you want to join us? And it grew into more of a movement. So I would say start now. You ask the question, you get to be the leader, create a little Google spreadsheet and a little document, and start with just your inner circle. And this will let you kind of work out some of the kinks of managing a project like that. And then once you have that going for a week or so, start inviting out people that you like to work with. And just, boy, that's a big go-giver moment as well. It benefits you, but it also benefits your entire community.
And creating a little FOMO too.
Create a little FOMO.
So, all right, is there a way to tell who in your area is using Google AdWords? And if so, what are they using?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways. One, if you go into incognito mode and just like start searching for, officiants in Miami, Florida, you'll see who's advertising. And that will tell you what they're advertising, the kind of the keywords, and then it will display their ads for you. The other thing is I use something called SEM Rush. SEM Rush has it's a 7-day trial now. They have a 7-day trial. You have to put in your credit card and you have to email them to cancel. So you better be really organized about putting that in your calendar because it's $100 a month. It's really expensive. But basically you can you can put in your competitors into SEM Rush. You see all sorts of things, what they're ranking for organically, how you rank against them, if they're advertising and what keywords they're using to advertise. So that's a pretty expensive paid tool. But if you can put it in your calendar on day 5 that you're going to email SEM Rush and ask them for a cancellation, you can do that. Another really awful like used door salesman trick that I use sometimes. This is so embarrassing. I'm telling you this. There've been a couple of times of trials where I've bought a Visa gift card at the local grocery store for like $50 or $100, and I put that in, and then it's like lo siento, money's gone.
That's evil. That's evil. All right. Can you speak a little bit more about retargeting and how to do this?
Yeah. So retargeting it only really works if you build out like a marketing funnel, which everybody's so tired of hearing marketing funnels, I hope. But basically it means before somebody is aware of you, from the point that before somebody's aware of you, but they know that they need a service like yours, all the way down to the point where they book with you. What are all the tiny little steps that they have to take to get there? So, for example, if you are a wedding planner in Austin, Texas, and somebody needs event planning services in Austin, Texas, they might view a hashtag or do a Google search or, ask a fellow vendor or whatever, and they find you and they become aware of you. Then when they become aware of you, like what information do they need to know to evaluate and vet you? So they might be looking on your Instagram feed for your portfolio. They might be stalking your stories to see what you're like to work with. They're probably looking at key pages on your website, like your about page, your services page, that kind of stuff. So then once they have enough information, what action are they going to take in order to do business with you? So usually that's filling out an inquiry form. The way that remarketing and retargeting works is you understand that if they are just finding out about you, they are not going to book you because they need to do some more research. They need to get to know you. They need to stalk on your feed. But you want to stay on their radar. So what retargeting does is it delivers them a very specific message based on where they are in the event planning process and what their needs are, and gives that to them and encourages them to take the next logical step in their path to booking you. And then you capture their information in a way so that you can market to them over and over and over again. So I've talked a little bit, just to kind of bring this home, I've talked a little bit about, creating a page on your website and driving traffic to it and remarketing, right? So let's say that, COVID-19 doesn't exist and you have this amazing page on your website that's all about like the top 5 wedding venues for country-hearted, music-loving couples in Austin. And it's the only piece of content out there like it. It has to do with Austin, so you're not getting people from New York City who's interested in it. It's very specific to Austin. And that before somebody books with you, you have to build trust. So you take that article, turn it into a PPC ad, right, if you want to, or a social media post, and you run ads to that, just saying, I have this great article, check it out on my website. They come to your website, they check out the article, and then at the bottom of that page, you say, if you want to learn more about us and our services, click here. And then you take them to the services page, right? That everybody who clicked on your article and then went to the services page, and you can set this up as a custom audience, but didn't hit your thank you page, they didn't inquire, that they are interested in you, but they're not quite ready yet. So what you want to do is you want to think, what can help them take the next logical step in the booking process or deepen the relationship with them right now? And whatever that is, you create an ad around it. And then you advertise to the people who visited those pages on your website. And you say, hey, that they visited this like venue place. Well, what else if you're a wedding planner, what else do they need to know about venues and planning their wedding? Because that's one of the first things they're going to book. Well, maybe it's a seasonal timeline, or maybe it's some sort of download that says like when not to have your wedding in Austin because South by Southwest is there. Again, after COVID-19.
Mhm.
Or, spring break or whatever. And so you keep on giving them content that keeps them on the hook and keeps them interested in you, allowing them to take the natural steps and progression. And then once they seem to be showing low funnel booking signals, like they're on your services page or they hit your inquiry page, but they haven't inquired, they haven't hit a thank you page, then you can just offer down funnel marketing at that point, like now booking 2021. But the idea of retargeting is, that when people first encounter your brand, they're not going to lose their minds and book you right there. There's this whole process of research and getting to know you and building trust. And retargeting allows you to control that process a little bit more tightly.
Yeah, that's
good advice. A lot of work, it sounds like.
It is a lot of work to set up, but once it's set up, listen,
it works like a
I
charm.
did Facebook ads recently. I did 2 seasonal ad campaigns and an evergreen funnel campaign for a stationer. And because our audience flips every couple of months, in the wedding industry, what I found is we don't get as bad ad burnout. And so I can use the same ads like for years with some people, just changing out the pictures and the creative and the videos to stay fresh looking, but it's the same ad copy, it's the same funnel, it's the same retargeted ads, because we have a brand new set of clients every like 6 months.
We do. That's what someone said. Our clients stay the same age, we just get older. So
that's exactly right. It's tough.
So,
this is a good question. I'm so sorry this turned into not a COVID-19 response. It's like,
well, no, but it's
social media.
It's been very good. So I'm more active on Instagram and not on Facebook. Do you think we need to be active on both?
You don't need to be active on both. You need to have a Facebook page in order to run Instagram ads, but I have a number of different clients that are mostly active on Instagram, and we just target the ads toward Instagram. You don't have to necessarily be on Facebook. When I say Facebook ads, it's because Facebook owns Instagram, and when you actually go into the ads manager or the business manager, which is what I use, it's got the Facebook logo and the Facebook blue, and it's branded like Facebook. But yeah, you can absolutely just select to run Instagram ads if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, cool. Well, anything we got through all our questions. There was a bunch of them, so thank you. Anything you want to? Wait. Snuck one in before we ended. How many hours a month do pros like Christy devote to a client?
It depends on the scope, but if we just talk about what I was doing with like social media channel management or ad setup, generally I do editorial calendars a month in advance, and it takes around 6 to 8 hours to write source images, do hashtag research, and get all of the posts ready and prepped. It goes to the client leaves a whole bunch of comments, approves, doesn't approve posts. Then it takes me about an hour and a half to schedule out a month's worth of content. And then where I spend most of my time for each client each day is I have an engagement tab in my timer. I literally spend about 10 minutes per client on their channels, just liking and commenting and talking to other people on social media. So, and then for setting up ads, it depends on how many campaigns we're running. But again, it takes me around 10 to 15 hours to get campaigns all written, videos made, carousels, images selected and stuff like that. Then it doesn't take me more than like 2 hours to set up the ads in Ads Manager. And then it's a matter of just going in and checking in on the ads more frequently at first, once every third day at first. But then after that, once they're running and they're all optimized down, it takes maybe an hour and a month to be able to manage those ads. So it's not too big a deal.
Cool.
You got to write fast, though.
And you do it every day, so it's a lot easier. I'm sure if we try to do it, it would be 5 times the amount of time that you spend. So, anything you want to leave us with, or anything that you're seeing?
Yeah, the one thing I want to say, just kind of bringing all of this back to COVID-19 and how it relates. the thing about COVID-19, and we talked about this, Kevin, the thing about COVID-19 is there is much more of a demand for our hearts and our compassion and our ability to empathize than ever. Like if you move into everything with a heart of empathy and compassion, you'll be fine. But I have found as a professional marketer for almost 10 years now, oh my gosh, I'm getting old too, that you should always market with a heart of kindness, compassion, and empathy. It really makes for good marketing. And if you can take some of the softening and the empathy and compassion from COVID-19 beyond this crisis and use it in your marketing, you cannot fail. You can only succeed.
Cool. All right. A couple questions. This video will be posted on the WIPA website within about 24 hours. So we are asking people if it will be shared post-call. So you will be able to go back through and get all your best tips from Christy. So it takes our staff about 24 hours or so to get this on the website. So come tomorrow, you should start seeing it up there. And then they do a pretty good job of posting it out on Instagram and letting people know that it's there with a nice little snippet of something Christy had to say. So they don't put me on there. They're smart. But thank you, Christy, for your time. We really appreciate it. We actually went about a few minutes over than what we normally do. So we had actually really good engagement and a lot of people on here today. So
wonderful questions, hard ones too. So thank you.
Good ones. So everyone, we'll be having we're going to do a state of the wedding industry. So we're going to have leaders from all over our local chapters on Monday. And then we have a couple more webinars for you next week. We will have an attorney, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. And I'm working on a big surprise one that I can't tell you guys about yet for the following week. So it's all in the works. So, but thank you, Christy, for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys all, and we'll be talking to you guys all next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.